Angular Material is an awesome library based on Google's material design that gives us many ready-to-go elements for our apps. In this lecture, we'll get our classified card wired up and find out how to use Angular Material to do it. Okay, so why don't we focus on putting in the toolbar first, since that's the top of the page. And before we do that, let's put in references to the CSS files that come along with Angular Material. And so I'll paste those in, and I will give you a chance to copy them out. We've also got a reference to the material design icon CSS as well. Okay, so down here in the body of our page, let's put in MD Toolbar. So we saw this in the last video that we've got access to this MD Toolbar directive, and that's going to give us a nice toolbar across the top of the page. And we'll want some content in here, so let's go ahead and firstly put a div with a class of MD Toolbar Tools. And that class is provided by Angular Material, and it gives us some special styling. Within there, why don't we put in just the name of our app, and maybe within a p tag, and then within a strong tag, we can call it ng classifieds. And then what we'll probably want is a button that can be clicked to add new classifieds in, and we can do that with md button. And then within the button, we can put an icon, and we can access icons with the md icon directive. And we just have to give it a class. So the class in this case, we can put it as MDI for material design icons, and then maybe a plus sign would be good. MDI plus circle. And then as the text for the button, let's just say new classified. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. Let's hop over to the browser and see what that looks like. So back over here in Chrome, if we refresh, we see we get our toolbar across the top. Now, I'm not too crazy about how this icon here is looking. It's a bit out of place. So let's see if we can fix that by maybe giving it some margin. So maybe margin top. And if we gave it 10 pixels, that should do it. Maybe something like 7 would work better. Yeah, that's better centered. So let's use that. And let's fix things up by going back over to Sublime. And let's add in a file here. We're going to call this style.css. And so we want to target anything that's within a button and has a class of material icons. And let's give it margin top of 7 pixels like we just did. All right, so we'll save that, and we have to bring that into our index.html file. So down here we can put in a new link, and it's going to go to css/style.css. Okay, let's hop back over and check that out. All right, so it looks like it's the same as we just had it, which means good, everything is working out fine. So right now, if we were to go and click this button, nothing is happening, but we can see that material design effect take place, the ripple across the button. We are going to wire up an event to this button to handle adding in new classifieds in just a little bit. But before that, why don't we add in some sample content? And maybe what we can do is just add in a single classified, and we'll just hard code it in to get all the structure for the classified listing in properly. So let's hop back over here to Sublime, and we'll go down here below MD Toolbar. And what we want first is the content area. And the content that we place on the page can just go here if we wanted to, but we should put it inside the MD content directive. So let's put everything within here. And this directive takes some attributes and classes that'll help us out. So we can put a class of MD padding. That'll put some padding around everything. And then we want to say layout is equal to row. And then we also want to say layout wrap to wrap the content. Now, quick note here, Angular Material makes use of Flexbox, which is a newer CSS specification that deals with flexible layouts. We're not going to dive into Flexbox in this course in depth. It's a really big subject, and there's lots of good material out there on it. But throughout, I'll talk a little bit about how Flexbox is working. In this case, we want to say layout is equal to row so that all of our elements get stacked horizontally instead of vertically. And this layout attribute here is wired up through the MD content directive. If we weren't using Angular Material with these special directives, then we would have to specify in our CSS that we want our layout style to be row. And this layout wrap attribute is another special one given by the directive. And what it does is it lets content wrap down to the next line instead of going beyond the width of the page. All right, so if we think about it, we want our content to kind of show up in a card format. And we're actually given a directive from Angular material that does that. We've got MD card. So let's put in MD card. And we want to give this, before we go any further, we want to give this a certain width. And what we can do is we can say flex is equal to a number that specifies the width that we want. We want this to take up maybe a third of the page, which we can do by putting in 33. If we wanted it to take up 2/3, we could put in 66, or we could do multiples of 10, and that would take up a fifth of the page in this case, or we could say we wanted to take up half the page. But we want a third of the page for each of these cards, so we'll put in 33. All right, so now within the card, let's put in an image, and so we'll put an image, and I'm just going to paste in a link, just a random link that we'll use later on, but I've just copied it for now. You can either put this link in, or you can grab a link to any picture you like for now. All right, so now what we need is our content area, and we can get at that by using MD card content. And what we can maybe do within MD card content is let's put a div with a class that we can use later on to style things how we want. So we can do div with a class of classified info. All right, so let's put in a title, and let's put in an h2 and give it a class of MD title. And this is going to be where our title goes. So let's just put first item for now. And then we're also going to want a price. Let's put that within an h3 and give it a price of $1 million. All right, and we want some descriptions. So for now, let's just put in some gibberish. We'll use some lorem ipsum. And that looks pretty good for now. Let's save that and let's check it out over in the browser. So if we refresh, we see we've got our card. We've got it showing an image. We've got our title, our price, and some description text like such. All right, so we've hard-coded everything in. We've got all of our text just sitting right here within our template, but we can actually pull this out into our controller to make it a bit more flexible. So what I'll do is I'll come over here to our controller and let's get rid of this. What I'm going to do here is put in classified. It is going to be a new object, and we'll have title of first item, and we'll have price is 1 million again. And then let's put in the description, and that's going to again be our lorem ipsum text. Okay, so let's save that, and what we can do is come back over here and we can replace all of this with some templating. So let's get rid of this, and instead let's put in classified title. Here, instead of the price showing up like this, we'll put in classified price. And then same thing down here, let's put in classified description. And so let's save that and let's make sure it still works. And it does. It's showing all of our content that's now coming in from the controller. All right, so obviously we are going to want more than just one item to show up on our page. And to do that, we can create an array of objects, and each object is going to be a classified listing. We'll take a look at that in the next video.